Welcome back to Salty Sunshine. This episode is going to be very true crime heavy. There are so many incidences happening, and I want to talk about it. But before that, I want to say RIP to Ozzie Osbourne and Jamal, whatever his name is, from The Cosby Show. Ozzie Osbourne obviously had health issues, Parkinson's, and whatever else, and he had a hard life. Alcohol, drugs probably. And so he died of old age, but then the Cosby Show, Jamal, he was sucked into a rip current in Costa Rica on vacation. So that's super sad. It's always sadder when it's like a freak accident and you're younger and there's no reason for you to have passed away. So RIP to them. Also, Hulk Hogan died of a sudden heart attack and he was 71 or 72. So everyone's saying, oh my God, who cares about him because of his political stuff? It's like, what is wrong with everybody? What the hell's wrong with everybody? When people die, I mean, if you don't care, that's fine, but you don't have to be so vocal and weird about, I don't know. Since when did political affiliation, I don't know. I think it's bizarre, the world we're living in. Politics has always been disgusting and now it's just even weirder, and everybody needs to stop being against each other and just accept different opinions. Like, it's so bizarre. Anyways, so RIP to them. Ozzie Osbourne did his last show in, like, I think a week before he died, which is, he was in a wheelchair chair that they made for him for the stage. And he said he stopped taking his pain meds so he can like be fully, present on the stage. And it's just so sad to see. And he really loved being on stage, and he raised that concert. All the money went to, I think, ALS and Parkinson's and all that. So I think it was the biggest grossing concert like ever. I think I read that. And that's really nice and beautiful. And it's really sad. I think they were one of, if not the first reality show of a family that ever came out on TV. And that show was so good. It was so funny. He was such a kook. I remember seeing a clip that he called, he was being interviewed and he called Sharon. He's like, when I met her and fell in love with her, she was fat, but I didn't care. She was 10,000 pounds. It was so funny. And Sharon, my God, I would love to go into her brain because, people don't really say what they think in interviews, like fully. And I just wonder, I don't know. I just wonder because she put up with so much shit from him, like between cheating and blah, 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 and his binges of drug use and alcohol and all the other stuff. And I just wonder, was it worth it? Was she actually in love with him, or did she see him more like a brother? Because that can happen when you're with someone a long time and you're just one of those ride or die chicks that are never going to leave because you have a family and blah, blah, blah. It turns into like a brotherly thing. It could. I'm not saying they did, but it could. So I'm just curious. I'd love to know. Denise Richards' divorce is getting crazy. Who would have thought? We just watched Denise and her little wild things. They looked like a happy couple, like so vanilla, like as far as like interaction. They look super get along. I don't understand what's happening. Like, what a dark side. So on 4th of July, apparently they had a huge blowout, and Aaron files for divorce and asks for all these really odd things, like his tools. It's so weird. It's like, who cares about your stupid tools? But he's asking for all this spousal support and money for the life he's come accustomed to, blah, 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 which is disgusting. I've been attacked online for saying, for me, and I will never change my mind, you can try as hard as you want, a man that doesn't work and tries to take money from a woman is so ick and so disgusting to me. It always will be. I don't care. I don't believe in equality as far as the roles of a man and a woman. I don't believe in that shit. We're equal as human beings, okay? We're equal in human beings. We're not equal in a man opening the door and a man paying, like when you go out to dinner on your first dates and stuff. Anyways, I think it's disgusting. I think men should always work no matter what, and they should always have their own income coming in, even if you're a plumber. Whatever it is, you better have a job because that's disgusting. And she should have never allowed that. But anyways, he's trying to get money from her. And then it comes out later that then after he does that, she comes out saying with pictures of her black eye, like from previous fights and stuff, and she got a restraining order against him saying that he was super abusive and mentally and emotionally, physically and verbally abusive. And then everyone starts digging. People are so trolly. They start digging back on all the scenes of the Housewives, and they find that clip when they leave that party, and she tells him something, and she tells him to stop saying stuff like that, and he grabs her hand and squeezes it. He's like, stop. He's like, shut up or stop talking. I'm going to break your hand or something. I didn't think anything of it when I saw that clip. People are dumb. Guys get really angry and they say stupid shit. So I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but now everyone's like equating that to now. And so she comes out saying all this stuff. Then a few days later, he comes out on a podcast saying, listen, I've never hit my wife. I've never been physically abusive. That's not my character. And she is hooked on Vicodin and other things. She's an addict and she's been cheating on me on and off all this time. And I found proof and I have the text messages. I read them and she begged me not to leave her and blah, 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 blah. So apparently the July 4th fight, he's pissed because she's cheating on him. I mean, remember she cheated on him with Brandi Glanville. Allegedly. She cheated on him with Brandi. I can see both sides. None of us know the truth, so everyone should stop acting like they do. I'm not on his side. I love her, but I can totally see her being, addicted to stuff. I mean, remember her behavior on The Real Housewives when her jacket was upside down and she was acting all weird with Dorit, like, I know what you're doing, don't do it. Like, she probably does have her moments with pills and alcohol, and sometimes she does talk funny and sometimes she slurs. Remember when she was at that table, I think it was that same night when she was talking weird to Erica, and she's like, she wasn't making sense. She was not making sense. So you know what, I'm not saying everything he's saying is true, but there's probably a little bit of truth in there, and he's probably also a dick. Like, I don't know. And he said that black eye came because she's always drinking or whatever she's doing, and she fell into a stairway and hit, I don't know. We don't know the truth. I think there's probably a little bit of truth in what everyone's saying. I don't know. We'll see. I guess the truth will come out later. But that's getting crazy, and I feel really bad for her daughters because, she put them on this TV show, and now the TV show's not coming back. And I don't know. It's a little icky for everybody, and it's unfortunate because I love that family, and I wish this wasn't in the public eye. And she's pretty much staying quiet as far as her coming out and talking like he is. But I would imagine if you're being accused of being verbally and physically abusive, you'd want to defend yourself, because I would. I mean, I don't blame him. If he's innocent of that, I don't blame him for trying to say, listen, I'm not a monster. I didn't do this. But who knows? Who knows? And I don't think she's a bad person. So if she's bending the truth, hopefully she'll come out and retract what she's said about him. But we'll see. If it's not true. If it's true, then she'll double down. Okay, so I saw Love Island. Why is it okay to make fun of? Everybody's making fun. So Amaya, Papaya, and Huda were on Call Her Daddy. And I only watch Call Her Daddy when there's guests that I want to see, but I will always say I don't enjoy her interviews. I don't know. I just don't enjoy them. I don't like her line of questioning. She's always in sweats, which who cares? That's fine. But it's just the vibe is very underwhelming. I don't know. I just don't love. I never leave that interview being like, wow, that was great. Like, there's no new information. Like, it's not great. I don't know. But anyways, I watch Amaya and Huda. When Huda said, who hasn't called their significant other a bitch, boy, whatever, I'm like, and then Alex Cooper says, I have. It's like they're just normalizing this. That was icky. I'm sorry. That was kind of gross. That was a learning moment. I mean, Alex did tell her you need to do better, but Huda doubled down. Like, Huda is a toxic human being. And she has no willingness to learn, like, why that's not okay. Like, she's going to be that bitch for a long time. She's not going to relent. And so they did little clips for the show, and when Amaya was on, she did a clip with Alex, and they're like, "Oh, Ace, is that you down there?" Making fun of his height. So I have a problem with this only because I think it's such a double standard. And yes, we can make fun of guys a lot because guys are like, they're so extra with the stuff they do to women, and I get it. But not all guys are like that, and they're not all bad. And I do feel bad. Like if I had a son or a brother or a father, like it's not just free reign to like shit on men for no reason. And I just think, imagine if these men were like sitting there making fun of a girl's wonk eye or her height or her whatever any physical attribute, everybody would come for them like they've never come for them before. And the fact that they think it's okay to make fun of his height, something he cannot change. He was born this way. He cannot change his height. That, I mean, you don't think that hurts his feelings? That's really sad to me. I don't know. I don't think that's okay. And everyone laughing about it, I don't think it's funny. Why are you making fun of his height? It's not fair. So anyways, those interviews were fine. Nothing to write home about. They're on their tour. I can't wait for the reunion. When is it, by the way? I gotta look that up. And then I also saw After the Villa, which is season 6, Love Island season 6, the after show After the Villa, which they've never done before. I've seen 2 episodes so far, 2 or 3, and it's fine. It's not great. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta watch this. It's like, okay, cool. The gang's back together. Kaylor is flipping out over Aaron that looks so freaking hot. He's so cute. But you could tell Aaron is just like sheltered, and he lives in this remote little town overseas, and he's just not in the fray. So, and now she has a new boyfriend in real life. So I don't think she's into Aaron anymore, but she does get nervous. And her blowout with Olivia, which, my God, I call things years before they happen. The minute Olivia walked onto the villa on Love Island, I said, that girl's toxic. The minute I heard her talk, I'm like, oh God, no. And then a few weeks later, I'm like, this woman has issues. Like, she's single white female over here. She's very controlling. She's the type of friend that tells you what to do, and if you don't listen, she gets mad. She's very interested in all your business, which is not okay. She's overly interested. She's like invested in your dating life, and that's always a bad sign. So Olivia and Kaylor are having a fallout. I don't even think they're close anymore today. I think they probably just made up to be cordial and like cool when they see each other, but I don't think they're best friends anymore. And thank God, because it's about time. Liv is a toxic human being, and she has no boundaries, and she takes out all her insecurities on her friends and people around her, and that's how I see it. So they're falling out. Apparently she flat out lied to Kaylor about something about a camera and some sort of brand deal, and things have never been the same. And so Kaylor thinks Liz used her because she moved in with Kaylor's family in the US to get her visa or something. And then after that, things changed. And so Kaylor thinks she was used, which is probably the case because she's not a great person or friend. So anyways, After the Villa, I'll keep watching, but it's not great. Sheena Shea. Oh my gosh, this girl is the girl you love to make fun of. She's just one of those people. She makes it so easy. Kind of like Jax, like you can't help but talk shit because that's all there is. That's all he gives. So Sheena Shea has a new book, My Good Side. And it's a book about like a little memoir type of thing. And the shocking piece, so she's shocking everyone by saying that Brock cheated on her when she was pregnant. And so I think, were they married already when she got pregnant? I don't remember the timeline. But I don't know if he cheated on her while they were married or weren't. But anyways, everyone's like, oh, she made that up. She just wants attention. I'm like, that must feel so shitty for her. It's so crazy because she doesn't get where people are coming from. She just doesn't feel, she's never felt like a genuine person because she's like overboard cheesy mixed with me attention. And she doesn't read the room. So I think she doesn't understand. Why does everyone think this way about me? But so she has her book and she goes on Watch What Happens Live and she goes on podcasts to promote it. And this woman has said that her team has sent Ariana a copy of her book. And they're asking her, has Ariana reached out since the book? Because according to her in the book, she's like, she wished she would have been more um empathetic to Ariana and patient and a better friend and blah blah blah. But she was going through her own thing, and so she kept it a secret, all that stuff. So it's crazy for her. See, that's where she loses everybody. Read the room. If you're not friends with anyone, why? You're not friends with Ariana anymore. Ariana wants nothing to do with you. Why are you sending her your book? That's something you don't do. Do you know what I mean? Like if she would have ran into Ariana or they spoke for whatever reason and then she told her about the book and how she felt and they had a conversation and then she sends her the book, but there's no pathway for you to think it's okay to just randomly send her your book. You know she has no interest in reading. That is insanity. I thought, and she says it with a straight face. When they ask her, has she reached out to your book? She should have said, no, why would she? Like, we left on really bad terms. She thinks this way about me. I hope if she hears this, she reaches out. I'd love to have a conversation. But no, of course I'm not going to send her my book. Of course she's not going to reach out to me. I mean, she's like not in the world with the rest of us. So anyways, if you want to read her book, it's available. I'm not going to read it, but I did read an article in Us Weekly that she had about her book. It's so funny. I don't know. I cannot believe Brock cheated on her while she was pregnant. I mean, that's the lowest thing you could do as a man. Like, he's bad character, and all she keeps saying is he's such a wonderful father. It's like, no, he's a paid nanny. He has other children he has nothing to do with, which to me is loserville. Complete loserville. You don't abandon your kids. I don't give a shit the relationship you have with the mom. You have rights as a father. You left the country and your kids behind. You're kind of a loser for that. You never went back, and now you're sitting here a paid nanny. You live off of Sheena. You don't work. And apparently the affair he had was when he was doing that exercise video workout stuff company. And it was one of the girls that was involved in that. So even when he was trying to work, he was being a douchebag. So I'm sorry. Everyone that's defending him, I'm like, he's not a good guy. He has major character flaws. Sorry. But, Sheena will never see that. The MRI machine this man got sucked into, this is the craziest story I've ever seen. His wife was inside the MRI getting an MRI, and she called out for her husband somehow. I don't know, she told the person that worked there to go get him, and they got him or something, but you're not supposed to just walk into an MRI room. You have to, like, take off jewelry and do whatever the procedure is, and maybe even put on, like, one of those jackets for the radiation or something. He just walks in. His wife's in the machine, and he's wearing this really heavy metal chain, and they say it was because he was like for like working out or exercise or something. He was wearing this heavy chain. So it wasn't like a chain for looks. It was like a heavy, heavy chain for like when people wear weighted vests. The machine sucked his butt inside that thing while the wife is in it, and she watches her husband go limp, and he dies like right next to her. Oh my gosh. He was 61 years old. That place is going to get the shit suit out of them because that's insanity. I've never heard of a thing. I did see someone else on TikTok say that if you go in with like a regular thin necklace or whatever, that would never happen. It's only certain metals that it acts like a magnet. So whatever metal he was wearing was not the thing that he should have been wearing in there. And that's really nuts. That's actually really nuts. And she's like crying. Yeah, it's really sad. It's one of those, like, how did that happen? People were just like, oh my God, you don't think people know what they're doing? It's like, no, I don't. I don't trust anyone. So, okay, so let's start with the crime, the true crime stuff. So I'm in Miami, right? So in Miami, this man, Anthony Caruso, in Miami Beach, this psychopath kills his mom. His mom lives elsewhere. She comes to visit him because she's worried about him or something. So, right. So a Miami Beach man is accused of killing his mother and placing her body in a dumpster. He's 40 years old. It's so nuts. Like, there was a trail of blood from his door to where you drop the garbage. And so she lives in New Jersey, and she flew to see her son that has a history of mental illness. That evening, her son-in-law called the police because he hadn't heard from her in 6 hours. So it happened like the same day she got there, and blood was found on the front door and the hallway leading directly to the trash room. So he didn't even try to cover up his steps. And so he's just like out of his mind. And the officers opened the door to the trash room and saw blood on the walls and floor surrounding the trash chute. On the first floor of the building where the trash chute ends, the trash room was locked. Miami Beach Fire Rescue was called in to breach the door. Inside the dumpster, officers discovered Elizabeth Caruso's body. According to the medical examiner's report, she had suffered severe trauma, including injuries nearly to the point of decapitation. So he really, like, he didn't just, like, break her neck. He really, really, like, went off on her. When the police attempted to contact Caruso at his apartment, he did not respond. A SWAT team and hostage negotiation unit were deployed. So he's in his apartment after doing this, like, just, like, hanging out. When our officers tried to make contact with the subject, he barricaded himself. After several hours of failed negotiations, officers used a canine and taser to subdue Caruso, who was then treated at Mount Sinai Hospital for a bite wound to his arm. Oh my God. Following his release, Caruso was taken to Miami Beach Police Department for questioning. He invoked his right to remain silent and did not make a statement. Wow. Just wow. You have a son. You go through all that as a parent, and this is what he does to you. When people say mental illness, I always wonder, it's such a broad term. People call, like, a serial killer mental. Is that mental illness? I say not. I say somebody that kills people for fun is just evil. I don't think that's mental illness. I don't think that's treatable. I don't think that's anything you're going to change. You're just born psycho. That's what I think. I don't know. Mental illness is used far too much, and it's like such a broad term. What does that even mean? Either, like, to me, mental illness is more like you have like crosses switched in your fuses, like that you can't control in your brain, and you hear voices and you're just like a little nuts. But like you're not meaning to be evil, like you don't know what you're doing type of thing. That's what I think of when you think of mental illness. Or like severe depression and stuff, but that just even that's not going to make you like want to kill people for fun. Or I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's a crazy story, isn't it? Here in Miami Beach. I saw it on the local news. All right, let's get into the real true crime story I came on here to talk about, which is Amy Bradley is Missing on Netflix. This case is a case from 1998. This woman went on a cruise with her parents, with her brother and her two parents. They all shared a room, which was weird, right? Because back then, people could afford stuff. Like, everything was cheaper. I think the parents, the dad or the mom, got this free trip on a cruise, and so they invited their kids because Amy was going off to college and getting her own apartment. It was kind of like a celebration type thing. And why couldn't they get the kids their own room? That's what I was thinking. But anyways, I don't remember this story being on the news like growing up. That's the year my daughter was born. Brianna was born in 98. And I don't remember the story. And I've been watching content since I came out of the womb. So I don't think this was like national news or anything. Because I don't remember. And I don't even remember seeing a Dateline on it, to be honest with you. I don't remember the story whatsoever. Ever. Like at all. And I know a lot of stories. But anyways, Amy Bradley on Netflix. So she goes on the cruise. And by the way, Netflix, they do a terrible job at documentaries. I've noticed even like the Menendez brothers, they kind of Hollywood it up and they leave out a lot of detail and they try to make it something else. And that pisses me off because a documentary should be just that. Like, I want facts. I want deep, deep dive facts. And apparently this podcast, Crime Junkie, if you want to go listen to it, just search in your podcast, Amy Bradley, and it'll come up. If you put Crime Junkie and then like comma Amy Bradley or whatever, it'll come up the episode. They did an episode on this case in 2019 or something. And they talk about it and they say little tidbits that were not in the documentary. So Amy goes on the cruise, and there's a party one night, and the parents go home early, as parents do, to go to sleep. And then the brother comes shortly, later, and then Amy's the last one to enter the room after partying all night. Apparently, she was dancing with one of the band members. His name is Yellow. I think he's a bass player, because they have some sort of video about it. Anyway, she goes to the room and she sits on the balcony, and she's drunk. Probably people saw her walking back to her room at some point, like 4 a.m. The dad claims he opened his eyes in the middle of the night, saw her legs from the chair on the balcony, and saw Amy was there. So he's like, okay, cool, she's home, like whatever. He goes back to sleep. Everyone's like, I would have got up to see if she was okay. It's like, no, you wouldn't. You're sleeping. And sometimes I wonder, did he really see her in the balcony? Because sometimes you think you saw something and you didn't. And maybe he's dreaming. Or maybe he didn't see her at all. Maybe she never came back home. That's my thing. That's one thing I think is possible. Because sometimes you think you see something, you don't. And then, so she disappears that night. No one's ever seen her again. One theory is she jumped off and took her life, which would make sense if you follow the fact that she was bisexual, because apparently, which they don't say in the documentary, but they do say in the Crime Junkie podcast, Amy was, or they say it somewhere else, I don't remember. She was dating a girl at some point, and her and that girl broke up, and before the cruise, she was dating a guy. So she goes both, and also her parents never accepted her being gay. And there's like all these letters and conversations they had, and they just thought that wasn't real, and she was just going through something and blah, blah, blah. So it's very possible she was just depressed and lost. And sometimes those moments are like small times in your life, and once you get to the other side, you get over and you move on. But maybe in that moment, she was super depressed. And I think sometimes when you go on vacation, it's also kind of, if you're already depressed, like not being at your home, your safe space, can depress you more, if that makes sense. Like if you're in a hotel room or you're out at a party and you just feel like you don't want to be there and your mind's somewhere else, it could be depressing, especially if you're drinking. So one thing is she could have just jumped off, or she could have been throwing up over the balcony, which I think people would have heard. I mean, we're talking about a cabin of a cruise ship. You're hearing everything. Also, if she's on the balcony and the door's open, was the door closed? Was the door open? Because if the door's open, you can hear everything. Plus, the wind is probably, it's going to wake you up. And any noise from any other cabin people and their balconies is going to wake you up. I don't know. So she could have either fallen off because they had the table against the railing, or she never came back home, or she jumped off. Those are the three possibilities. And one of the clues was the people that take photos on the boat. You go and you look at the photos and, oh, so cute, like souvenirs. The guy that took the photos and printed them said he specifically remembers printing Amy's. And this is from the podcast. I don't know if they say this in the documentary, that he remembers printing hers out, and they were there one day and gone the next. So somebody stole her photos. It could have been her. I don't know when the photos were put out. Maybe she took them. Maybe someone else took them. But yeah, so everybody thinks that she was trafficked, that somebody smuggled her off the boat, which I can't imagine. Like, if you've ever been on a cruise, first of all, at 4 or 5 in the morning, you're not allowed to get off the boat. There's certain times of the day that you're allowed to get off the boat. And then also, like, if you did just walk her off and get help from someone on the boat, somebody else would have seen. I don't know. I feel like that's just not. I don't know. You can't just walk off a boat. There's people in place for that. They don't have like even that thing that, not the bridge, like the walkway. The walkway's not down. So they're not going to go through all that without somebody noticing that they're opening the exit. There's like signals and like electric stuff in there. I don't know. I don't know how she would have got off the boat, to be honest with you. So I don't believe the theory of her getting off the boat. I think she died and went overboard, or somebody killed her on board and threw her overboard elsewhere, and she never went back to the room. I also think that's a possibility. Also, all these people talking, and being interviewed on the documentary. This was 27 years ago. You're going to tell me you remember that night and when you went to get a soda and who you saw at what time? There's no way. It's 27 years ago. So, sorry, I don't believe the recollection of a lot of these people either. Also, when she went missing, the captain of the boat didn't want to alarm anyone and didn't tell everybody there's someone missing. What are you talking about? I would have screamed for the top of my lungs, my daughter's missing, and running down the hallway, my daughter's missing, my daughter's missing, my daughter's missing. You need to help me find her. They just stayed quiet and like left the area and didn't tell the passengers. That wouldn't happen under my watch. That's crazy that they didn't scream at the top of their lungs, my daughter's missing. So they continued their path and left the area. And apparently people did, like Coast Guards or whatever, did go out and like search the area for her, but nothing. And then they also have this neighboring person next to them, the guy that was in the room next to them. He apparently was this guy that went on cruises by himself. He was a big loner, and they said he was a little creepy, and he was in the room next to them. So Brad the brother is on Twitter. His Twitter is BradRad5Bradley. He's on there with all these conspiracy theories. He's saying that the partition of the balconies, those were removable. So you could take it off and maybe he came into their balcony or lured her over to his balcony, but they didn't find any evidence of that. And first of all, if the balcony could be removed, the partition, could it be removed by people or just the people on the boat, like with tools and stuff? Because I don't think you could just open it, because then people might bother you. Like, that's whatever. So I don't know about that. But he's on Twitter with all of these conspiracy theories. He's on Twitter just like talking about Scientology now and that theory, and it's all this stuff. And to me, the family seems a little off. I'm not going to lie. Like the dad, not the mom. She's just like a grieving mom, but the dad, the brother, like what's up with this Twitter and this bullshit? And then he shared also like a GoFundMe people made for them. What do you need a GoFundMe for? It's been 27 years. Like, what are you doing? What have they been doing all these years too? I need to know that. What have you been doing all these years? Have you, like, if you're really that intent on finding her, like, you should be living on that island and just like watching out to see where you find her. I don't think there's any way possible that this woman has been on that small, tiny island, a white girl that stands out, right? Like a sore thumb on that island. There's just no way. And you can't leave the island without like proper identification. So I just don't see how that's possible. I think this is a huge conspiracy theory, but what do I know? I don't know the truth. It's just in my brain, I don't think that's possible. And if she was on that island, like you could literally just search the entire island within 6 months. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. And they think she's on there because they've had all these people come out and say they saw her here, they saw her there. This one lady saw her in the bathroom and talked to her and heard these men. I'm like, that's such bullshit. Where's the proof? I don't know. How could so many people see her yet no one actually sees her? So the mom is 71 years old now, the mom of Amy. She was 45 back when this happened. They're holding out hope, but apparently too, when they took this to court, it was like thrown out of court because they were accused of perjury, which means they were lying about some stuff. They were lying about the witnesses, they were lying about all this stuff. And so it was thrown out. That's another thing to consider. So she either jumped off, fell off, was killed on the boat and thrown off. The guy Yellow from the band took her to this island and like magically secured her somewhere, or the guy from next door took her. I mean, I don't know. So the parents went back home after initially when this happened, which I would never leave, like no way in hell. But then they did fly back a week later and continued their search. People claim that there was 2 men. They saw Amy on the beach and there was 2 men with her, one being one of the band lead singers that was on the boat. Now, I have questions about the band. Do they live on the boat? Was that a one-time thing? Was that a week thing? Are they back and forth? What is their life? I need more information. Because if they were on the island, that means they left the boat. I don't get it. And the boat just doesn't dock on that island. So I need more context around the band and their daily routine. So on the on the podcast Crime Junkie, apparently early morning, 6 in the morning, whatever, when they wake up, Amy's gone. They're like, wait, this is weird. Where could she be? Blah, blah, blah. They're looking everywhere. Apparently, the brother Brad ran into the bass player named Yellow that she was dancing with the night before. And he told Brad, I'm so sorry to hear about your sister. Apparently, that's a huge red flag because nobody knew she was missing. But you have to remember, Yellow was with her till 4 or 5 in the morning when she got back. And even though they woke up and they didn't tell anybody, like maybe they did hear something. Maybe somebody did say, I'm looking for my daughter. Have you seen my daughter? I don't know. I don't know if that means a lot. They did find a bunch of other photos in Yellow's suitcase, something like that, his bag, about other passengers, their photos. Maybe he's just a creep. And collects photos, and he steals photos that they take because he thinks they're cute and does stuff with them in his private room. Who knows? That doesn't really. Where's Yellow today? That's what I want to know. Where is he? Where is he? Where's his life been like? Does he have a criminal record? I need more information because I feel like we don't have a lot of context on these people that they're talking about. I need more information of their behavior, their lifestyle. Does he live on that island? Is he back and forth? Does he go to that island every month? Like, what's the information behind these people? So then when she's missing, it's like 8 months later, Amy comes out on America's Most Wanted, and a tip came in that they saw this woman and they described her tattoos and all of that. So there's not much else to report. She's basically missing, and there's a million theories on the fact that she's being trafficked. And then there's this photo of this other trafficking site that shows like an older version of what could be Amy with longer hair and all this makeup on. I don't think it's her. They're saying the teeth are the same. The teeth are the same. People can have the same looking teeth. It's not unheard of. It doesn't look like her to me. But then why didn't they like try to contact that girl if they thought that was her to see, like, if they could find her? So there's just so many theories out there. I don't know what to believe. I tend to believe someone killed her, or she fell off or jumped from the boat. I don't know about this theory of her getting off the boat. I really don't. But we'll see if they find something. This case was in 98, and it reminds me of a case when I was young in Miami, Florida. I don't know if you guys ever remember in 1984, the case of Shannon Melendi. Shannon Melendi was a girl that grew up in Miami, Florida. I used to go to her house right off of Sunset Drive, which is Southwest 72nd Street. My cousin was best friends with her, and she would take me to her house all the time. They'd hang out, eat popcorn, watch movies. We'd go in her jacuzzi that she had in the backyard. It was like this wooden jacuzzi, one of those jacuzzis that's like a standalone. And I remember that vividly. I would go there all the time. She went to Southwest High School in Miami, Florida, and they were best friends. And so later on, she leaves to college. She goes to Emory University, and she has this part-time job at this like softball game thing. And she takes, I don't know, she takes score, whatever. She gets this part-time job. And apparently the umpire of that team was like obsessed with her, and he's this creep. He has a record. He's done terrible things in his past. He was married, and he had it comes out later after this happens to Shannon that he got this 14-year-old girl and like raped her in his basement. And the girl heard the wife upstairs. She starts making all this noise, and the wife comes downstairs, and he starts screaming at the little girl. And the girl's like, your husband raped me and did all this stuff. And she's like, you need help, she tells the guy. I mean, crazy. His name was Butch or something. Butch Hinton. Yeah, Butch Hinton. She's like, Butch, you got problems. You need whatever. So he has a record, and he's a creep, and he does stuff. And so I'm sure he's like raped a bunch of women and killed at least probably 2 or 3. But this case was crazy because when you're young and something like this happens to someone, you're like, oh my gosh, like I was at her house. Like that's crazy. So she goes missing. So he approaches her and asks her to go to lunch. I guess she goes to lunch with him, and she's never heard from again. But like he didn't do this in front of other people, so no one knew where she was, who she went with. No one knows anything but the fact that she's missing. Like she's just gone. Kind of like Amy. They don't know her last like interaction and where she was at the time she went missing. So she goes to lunch, doesn't tell anybody. No one sees this interaction. She goes to lunch and is never heard from again. He takes her back to his house. He violates her, attacks her, and kills her at some point. I don't know how long she stayed alive. The crazy thing is they've never found her body. Till to this day, since 1984, they have never found her body. He either burned her body or he buried her somewhere he won't tell anybody. I think he burned her body because she goes missing. Okay. No one knows where she is, but it does come up that they're like, where was she? She was at this baseball game, blah, blah, blah. They interview all the people on the team. They get to his name. They're like, wait, this guy has a record. This guy's a little weird. So they do have him in their mind as a suspect, as a probable suspect, but there's no proof of anything, right? So it's a decade before this guy goes to jail for the murder of Shannon that they never found her body. But in the meantime, he does other crimes. He goes to jail for other things. I think he had like some sort of insurance fraud. At some point, his house was on fire. So he probably burned her body with that house on fire. All these things. They never find anything. But when he's in jail for another crime, the inmate said that he would wake up in the middle of the night and say that he killed her and yeah, he had her and all this stuff. And there was a tip in the tip line of him calling or someone calling saying, I have her and I'm going to do whatever to her. And I don't know. So there's evidence of like hearsay that he did say he had her but her body was never found and they did convict him and gave him life in prison. For her death, which is not common because if you don't have a body, there's no crime. But they convicted him for life. But in 1984, whatever, this happened 10 years later. So in 2000, whatever, 84, 90, 84, 94. Or I guess in 94, when he was convicted, there was like some law. So he was eligible for parole a few times. So the parents have made it their life's mission to make sure this disgusting person doesn't get out of jail. And there's a dateline on it. If you look in your podcast and you look up Shannon Melendi, there's a Dateline podcast on it. And I guess there's a movie, not a movie, a show on TV on Dateline. They talk about it and the father is like, oh my God, I will die before I let this guy get out on parole. He killed my daughter. And so he was up for parole a few times and they denied him. And he was up for parole again in 2025. I can't see anything online of if he got it or not. I'm assuming he didn't. I hope he didn't. But the dad is like still fighting the fight. The mom has since passed away and the sister's still alive. So it's really crazy. And this Amy story really reminded me of this girl, Shannon Melendi, from back then. And I'll never forget that story because I went to her house and I was a little kid, but I remember very well. I remember the front door and the numbers of her home and going there all the time. And it's really sad that we have to share this world with people that are capable of such disgusting acts. So yeah, if you're interested in the Shannon Melendi, Melendi, Shannon Melendi case from 84, you should look that up. And it's just a lot like Amy's Bradley story because it happened back then when there's no cameras, there's no footage, there's no proof, and they're just poof, they're gone. But Shannon, they did find her killer. Amy, they haven't. So if she was killed, because she might have killed herself. But that's my true crime rundown. It's crazy how we go down these rabbit holes when we see stuff like this. People need to remember, I remind myself because we watch these Datelines and true crime things and we think we listen to it, we're like, oh, we're such a true crime junkie, but it's kind of sick. It's kind of sick for us to say that because these are real people that are happening. It's real deaths and real trauma, and we look at it like entertainment, and it's not entertainment. I'm interested in it because I am fascinated with like true stories, but people I feel like look at it like, oh my God, like it's a great entertainment show, and it's like you got to tell yourself that these are real people, real families, real heartache, and it's not for entertainment. It's just like for knowledge. But anyways, I digress. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week for more gossip. Bye.